Welcome to SERA History, stories of wars, remarkable people, powerful empires, forgotten places, and the events that shaped human history. In 480 BC, one of the largest armies of the ancient world marched toward Greece. At its head stood Xerxes, king of the mighty Persian Empire. Waiting in its path was a small Greek force led by the legendary warriors of Sparta. Only a narrow mountain pass stood between Persia and the heart of Greece, and at Thermopylae, 300 Spartans prepared to make their stand. The Persian Empire had spent decades expanding across Asia and the Middle East. Its armies had conquered enormous territories, and Xerxes now sought to complete what his predecessor, Darius, had failed to achieve: the conquest of Greece. The Persian army crossed into Europe and moved south. Greek city-states that normally fought against one another suddenly faced a common enemy. Among them was Sparta, famous for its brutal military discipline. Spartan society was built around warfare. Boys entered military training from childhood, learning endurance, discipline, formation fighting, and absolute loyalty to the Spartan state. King Leonidas led the Spartan force sent toward Thermopylae. The famous 300 were not the entire Greek army. They formed the core of a larger allied force that initially numbered several thousand soldiers. Their destination was a narrow coastal passage called Thermopylae. The landscape was crucial. Mountains pressed against one side, while the sea lay nearby on the other. The narrow terrain prevented Persia's enormous army from using its full numerical advantage. Leonidas understood the situation. At Thermopylae, numbers could be turned against the Persians. When the Persian army arrived, Xerxes reportedly expected the Greeks to retreat. Instead, the Spartans remained. The first Persian attacks crashed against the Greek defensive line. Persian soldiers advanced toward the heavily armed Greeks, but the narrow pass prevented them from surrounding the defenders. The Spartans fought in the hoplite formation, shields locked together and spears extending forward. When the Persian soldiers pushed closer, the Greek line struck. Again and again, Persian attacks failed. Even elite Persian troops known as the Immortals struggled to break through. For 2 days, the Greeks held the pass, but then came the betrayal that changed everything. A local Greek named Ephialtes revealed a mountain path that allowed Persian troops to move around the Greek position. The defenders were about to be surrounded. Leonidas now faced an impossible decision. The main Greek force could retreat, but Leonidas and his Spartans remained. Alongside them stood several hundred other Greek warriors, including Thespians and Thebans. Their mission was no longer to win. It was to delay the Persian advance for as long as possible. As the final battle began, the Greeks fought with desperate determination. The narrow pass became a battlefield of broken weapons, shields, and fallen warriors. Leonidas was killed during the fighting. The Spartans fought to recover his body, battling fiercely around their fallen king. Eventually, the Persian army surrounded the remaining defenders. Arrows filled the sky. The last Greek resistance at Thermopylae was destroyed. Persia had won the battle, but Thermopylae was far from the end of the war. The sacrifice of the defenders became a powerful symbol for the Greek resistance. The Persian army continued south and captured Athens, yet the Greek fleet remained alive. Soon, the conflict moved to the sea. At the Battle of Salamis, Greek ships trapped a much larger Persian fleet in narrow waters and inflicted a devastating defeat. Xerxes was eventually forced to withdraw much of his army from Greece. The following year, the Persian invasion suffered another major defeat at Plataea. The invasion of Greece had failed. Thermopylae, therefore, became something larger than a battlefield. The 300 Spartans did not single-handedly defeat the Persian Empire. They did something different. They became the symbol of resistance against overwhelming power. Their final stand demonstrated how discipline, terrain, courage, and determination could allow a small force to challenge an enormous army. More than 2,000 years later, the name Thermopylae still echoes through history. The Persian Empire was one of the greatest powers of the ancient world. Sparta was only one Greek city-state, yet at a narrow mountain pass, a small group of warriors created a story that survived the empire itself. The battle was lost. The legend was not. This was the story of Sparta against Persia, a clash between an expanding empire and warriors determined to stand their ground until the very end. If stories of legendary battles, powerful empires, extraordinary people, and forgotten moments from world history belong here, subscribe to SERA History, like this video, and leave a comment with the next historical story worth uncovering. Until the next chapter of history,